Hey there, welcome to the course. My name is Daniel, I lead the growth team at Voiceflow, and we're going to go over how to build an AI support agent step by step. So this is going to have three parts. The first part is going to go over building a really robust FAQ agent, so an agent that can answer questions based on your data. The second part is going to go into actually building out a flow. So in this case, it'll be build out a submit a ticket flow that submits a ticket to Zendesk with an API call. And the third one will go over how to do something like booking a demo, where again, we're creating another workflow, we're capturing information, and then we're actually being able to use that information and open up a booking link. The last part will go over actually deploying your agent, so getting it on your website and doing all sorts of customizations like adding in custom forms, calendar pickers, changing the CSS, everything you want to know about actually deploying it. So here I am in my Voiceflow workspace. Now you'll notice that there's a course template, and so if you go to our documentation at the bottom, there's a link to this template so you can follow along. But let's get started off with a new agent. Now if you just onboarded to Voiceflow, you might be dropped in this screen and it looks familiar. So we're going to give our agent a name. In this case, I'll call it the Voiceflow support agent, and then we're going to hit get started. Now this is what's going to allow us to import our first website. So let's just go ahead and do voiceflow.com. And now this is going to actually get the data from that web page and put it into our agent. So we can start off with something simple. So if you can put in your website here or a single page of documentation or even something from Wikipedia, that'll help us get started. Once it's done, it's going to drop you into the knowledge base, and you're going to see that you can right ahead go and chat with your agent. So I'm going to ask it something like, what services do you offer? And this is going to answer this question with the information that it pulled from voiceflow.com. It's going to format it all nicely in Markdown, and that's actually going to provide us an answer. So the next thing, of course, is to go ahead and actually add in more documentation. So if I click on voiceflow.com here on the white part, I can see all the different chunks. So this is all the information that was pulled from this web page. So you can see it's got all that stuff about community it was talking about, but I want to add in more. So let's go to data sources. Let's add in sitemap. Let's do voiceflow.com, and it's going to show me all the docs I have. I don't want all of this, so let's just take out everything after blog. Great. 270 URLs, and you'll notice that if you try to do a lot, Voiceflow only lets you upload 300 URLs at a time, so you might just have to copy those, do 200, and then paste the next 200. Great, and they turn into check marks when they are done, so successfully added. And if I click here, you can see that it pulled all of this information. So now let's ask it a harder question, like, what is the best practice for building my AI agent? Great. So now you can see that it was able to give me a pretty robust answer here because it's got all of this information in here from our website, from our blog. I've already got a pretty good agent that does FAQs and that I can go and add to my website. But let's figure out where these answers are coming from. So to do that, we are going to go into workflows. Now this is the most powerful part of Voiceflow, and it's where all the magic happens. If I head into the home workflow here, you can create and modify your agent by dragging steps onto the canvas. So you can see I can drag out a text step here, so a message step, put it right between our new agent, and I'll say hello. Now if I go ahead and try out our agent, you can see that right underneath this first text block, it's going to say hello. So there's different types of steps. There's AI steps that generate responses and save AI responses to a variable that we can go over in a separate video. There are talk steps that present a message to the user from your agent. Listen steps that actually capture information. And so here, to listen for an intent, I'm actually using a button step. So if I drag this out, this is now going to make the agent just stop and listen. And I can go ahead and actually add in buttons if I wanted to. And we're going to do that in the support agent course so you can see what it looks like to start building out workflows. The capture step is what you use to capture information. So this is where you can actually capture things like an email address. Again, check out the support agent course to learn how to build these out. Logic, you can set conversational logic in your agent. You can do API calls, search knowledge base, and then run JavaScript as well, or run your own custom functions. And so plenty of different options to do inside of Voiceflow. And you can see that this flow is our home flow. So it has a start chip where it starts, and then it's just listening for a conversation. Now, when you ask a question, it's going to look and say, is there a trigger on your canvas, or is there a workflow that I should go to? If not, it's going to go to the knowledge-based response workflow. Now, this is where the magic of actually answering your question is happening. And so in Voiceflow, we really prioritize flexibility and transparency. So rather than a black box of an AI that answers your question, you have access to every single step of what's happening when the AI is actually getting your question and formulating an answer. To see how this works, let's go ahead and hit run on the top here. This is going to open up our debug mode, which will allow us to talk to the agent, and it's going to follow along step by step on the canvas so you can see exactly what is going on. So let's hit run test, and I'll ask it a question. What is Voiceflow? And you can see that once it's got an answer, it's actually showing me exactly what's going on the canvas and all of the debug messages that are happening in the back to provide this answer. So the first thing it did is I asked a question, and there wasn't any intents or any triggers that I've added to my canvas for it to jump to. And so what it did is it went right to our knowledge base item here. So you'll see it's called a none intent, but it jumped over here, and now it actually took this question and ran through a flow to answer it. In the debug mode, it's showing me everything that's going on behind the scenes here. So in this first step, what it did was it optimized my question. So it took what is Voiceflow, it combined it with the conversation memory and a bunch of other things to come out with a better optimized question. And then the next thing it did is it actually looked through the knowledge base to find information that was relevant. So it said 4 chunks retrieved, so it found 4 pieces of information, saved it to a variable called chunks. And then the next thing is that it actually used that with a prompt to provide an answer. And then finally, it showed me the answer. So it takes you along step by step. And if you want to get deeper into this, there is a video here that explains each of these steps. And we also have a tutorial called the KB search tutorial, which shows you how to use this, where you actually build this out step by step. Plenty of information for you to get in and dig your hands dirty. But the really important one here is this step called craft response. What's happening here is these are the instructions that the AI is using to actually provide your answer. So you can see here that I've got 6 instructions. I've got take the information from chunks that I got here, format the response in a clear step-by-step manner, use Markdown, make sure it contains the right information, and then be concise. And I can see that I've given it information. So I used a variable called last utterance, and to use a variable in Voiceflow, if you ever wanted to add it into a prompt, just add a squiggly bracket and you can select it. Last utterance is a variable that is automatically saved. So whenever a user types something, it saves it into last utterance. Chunks are the variable that I set here. This is where the information was stored from the KB search step. Memory is automatically saved. This is just the last 10 messages in the conversation. So this is automatically stored in Voiceflow. And user's language was actually determined in this step here as well. So if you want to modify your answer, you can modify this. You can also try changing up the model or any of the system prompts as well if you're finding that it's taking too long or you want a quicker model or something that's a bit more accurate as well. So that's a quick overview of this. The next thing you're going to do is create new workflows. Now let's create an example one called book a demo. And what this will allow me to do is actually add a trigger to my canvas. And I've got one here already called book a demo. And you can see here that I've given it a description of when I should trigger this workflow, as well as examples of things someone might say. And so now if I go home, train the agent, and I say something like, I want to talk to the sales team, it's going to know that I'm actually trying to trigger this book a demo workflow and take me down it. But you see that I haven't built out anything yet, so just enter the conversation. But the next step for you is to check out the Building a Support AI Agent course, and that's going to walk you through how to build out a book a demo flow. It's going to walk you through how to submit a ticket and get you on track to being an expert in Voiceflow. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, head on over back to the workspace here, hit Discord community, and this is going to let you join our community of over 8,000 people that are building on Voiceflow so you can get your questions answered as well. But happy building, and I'm excited to see what you put together.